Cheating on wheels. God damn it, Peg. I cursed under my breath. Well, why? I have to admit, I saw this coming a long time ago and kind of knew the answer, but to actually witness it is an entirely different matter. Honestly, it hurt like hell. And she's going to cheat with this asshole? No kidding? What the hell does he have that I don't? Unless you count the fact that he's younger than me, handsome, rich, athletic, famous, outgoing, he really has nothing to offer. At this point, I ordered my inner monologue to shut up and then punched him in the face. The point is, Peggy and I are married, and that implies certain vows. If she wanted to sleep with other guys, she should have demanded a divorce or an open marriage or something. Enough. There is no excuse for cheating in my book. That's why I was seething with righteous anger as I watched her slip out the side door in the company of a tall, muscular copyright infringer. Yes, I recognized this guy. Even with his fake beard hiding his face, you couldn't mistake this Hulk-like figure. Randy Horse Muller. No doubt about it. He should have dressed in a fucking Mack truck suit to really hide his pumped-up physique. Peggy's Catwoman-style outfit, on the other hand, was even less disguising, considering she chose a lecherous version of Halle Berry. In my opinion, this is the least sexy incarnation of the famous supervillain, but the arms are exposed most blatantly. This is more than just leather pants, bra, and cat ears. Meow. Before closing the door behind him, Blackbeard Randy took a quick look around to make sure no one had noticed their exit. Apparently, he was satisfied that they had managed to slip out unnoticed. And of course, he was wrong, but one could hardly blame him. After all, he was looking for Ben Buford, not a deadly ninja dressed in all black. Besides, Peggy had probably told him that her beloved husband was on a business trip this Halloween. Obviously, she's wrong, too. Barely had the door closed before I sprang into action and followed the nefarious couple. It didn't take long, though. The damn door turned out to be locked. Shit. They're getting away. My sinister ninja skills were thwarted by the $20 lock. This is so embarrassing. Well, if you can't go straight through, you should just go around. So I started making my way through the building to the front door. This proved to be easier said than done, as the main hall was crowded with happy and drunk people in brightly colored Monster Mash costumes. Barely halfway through it, my progress stopped when something red, green, and smelling like an exploding brewery grabbed me and hugged me. "Who are you, and why aren't we making love yet?" mumbled unintelligibly to a drunken Poison Ivy, whose secret identity was local real estate agent Marge Alling. Not just no, but hell no. I'm death incarnate and also married, I bellowed in my best Christian Bale voice and broke out of her embrace. "Ben?" she exclaimed in surprise. "Ben Buford? But Peg is here with, oh, shit on a stick. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say." "I wasn't here, Marge," I said, looking her straight in the eye with my most intense ninja stare. "You didn't see me. Please." Well, of course. Okay. Whatever you say. But Ben? Yeah? If Randy doesn't kill or maim you too badly, do you want to, well, hang out later? I don't have anything under that. I quickly turned and disappeared into the crowd again, Shadow Warrior style. No, I didn't run. Ninjas are completely fearless and never run away. I just hurried in the right direction. No, really. When I finally made my way through the crowd to the parking lot, I realized that even the fearsome strength of the deadly warrior wasn't enough. The birds had slipped away. The empty space where Randy's car had been was like a big neon sign. All I could do was stare out into the moonlit night. Somewhere out there, my wife is in the process of destroying our marriage, and I have no idea where the villains have moved to consummate their unholy union. The hidden GPS tracker in Peggy's car was as useful as Lindsay Lohan's brain, since the fugitives are in Kanya's car. I cursed myself for not installing a GPS on Randy's car. "Great job," I muttered to no one in particular as I walked to my rental car. Maybe I should have shown up in a Mike Hammer outfit instead. At least I'd have a gun to shoot myself with. Lost in the despair of the moment, my mind went back to that fateful day when I first learned of my beloved wife's nefarious intentions. That day, while rummaging through the bedroom, hunting for a pair of clean socks, I overheard Peggy and Hannah gossiping outside in the garden. You won't believe how good he is, Peg, Hannah said impatiently. And another thing, he can go on for everything. I'm telling you, he turned me into a puddle of quivering jelly before he was even half done. It was amazing. Both giggled loudly like a couple of idiots. I was just about to stick my head out the window and announce my presence with a loud boom. But what Peggy said next stopped me. You know, she sighed, I could totally flirt, as you say. Turning into a puddle sounds tempting. But you got Ben. Don't you do it the same way? Of course we make love, just not as mind-blowing as you're describing. I mean, we've been married 20 years to yell so loudly. It's only natural that over time some of the passion goes away. I love him fondly and can't imagine a better husband, but I'd still like to go out once. Go out! Hannah blurted out. There's a solution. You should have an affair, Peg. Not in this lifetime. Jesus Christ, Hannah. You know how jealous Ben is. He'll divorce me immediately, maybe even shoot me. If he finds out, maybe, Hannah replied. But who's to say he'll find out? You just have to make sure that doesn't happen, don't you? Peggy didn't answer for a few seconds, and I cherished the hope. But then stupid Hannah threw out her ace. Randy wants you, Peg. He's asked about you a couple times. Really? Peggy asked, a little too interested. Really? He spotted you at the fair and asked me about you. Say the word and I'll arrange a date. Come on, Peg. Life is short. Have fun. That was all I heard because at that moment 2 more of their friends showed up, and apparently these 2 hadn't gone crazy yet. I quietly walked out of the bedroom with my head filled with new thoughts and emotions. Peggy wants to change? My Peggy? Well, I'm certainly not going to stop her. In fact, quite the opposite. In my opinion, intent to change is already reason enough for divorce, so the only one who can stop Peggy from killing our marriage is Peggy herself. And I don't want to live for years in a fog of mistrust, so I decided to escalate the problem and give her an opportunity. In other words, I was going to give her a rope long enough to hang herself with and then see what happens. Either she would remain faithful or she wouldn't. And if not, I wanted proof as soon as possible. I'll spare you the trivial details of how I on Peggy's phone and a GPS tracker in her car. Finally, as part of my plan, I let her know that I would not be able to attend the annual Halloween party this year due to an emergency business trip. This event was a conscious choice on my part. Halloween is the only time of year when people have a legitimate reason to walk around putting on someone else's face, making it the perfect time for cheaters to meet without the need for hotel rooms or deserted locations. As I expected, the 2 fools saw this as an opportunity not to be missed, and Peg made plans to meet Randy at the party. Needless to add that I'm going to covertly attend and catch them in the process, and that's the reason I'm sitting in a rental car, dressed as Karigi Scary, and without a single damn idea what to do next. Having set the trap on my wife, I actually handed it over to Randy gift-wrapped and ready to use. He's probably making love to her right this very moment, but always remember, the true power of the Shadow Warrior is not in his deadly kung fu or destructive weapons. It's in his ability to think creatively and turn defeat into crushing victory. It suddenly hit me. Peggy has an Achilles heel, her phone. To thwart my efforts, she may ditch her car, but she's not going anywhere without her precious phone. In this gadget, she stores her entire life. Calendar, contacts, email, social media, and more. It's always on the nightstand when we make love. It's with her, in the bathroom when she goes to the restroom, and it's attached to her arm when we jog. Her little gadget may turn out to be my best ally. I started with the obvious. I called her. It was ringing, but there was no answer. Not to say I expected anything different. No one wants to be disturbed during illicit lovemaking. But at the very least, it confirmed that her phone was on. Awesome. Apparently, the ninja gods are on my side. The second stage of my battle strategy was to go to the tracking page on my phone and activate the Find Phone feature, a very useful service if you lose your phone or your spouse but happen to know her code and password. A few minutes later, I received a map with her current location in the surrounding area. This is a place I knew well as a kid. Lavers Point is a place for lovers. I have to say, Horsebrain seems like a very classy guy. Rich as hell, but too cheap to even hop into a hotel room to ruin my marriage. Instead, he drove Peggy to Lavers Point and is probably going to sleep with her in the car like some teenager. Not that I'm complaining, mind you. After all, it's made my task so much easier since I can catch my cheating wife red-handed without breaking into a hotel or trespassing on private property. Just open the car door, take a few pictures of Peggy, and I could head to the lawyer's office. It was at this point that I suddenly remembered the third way I could use her phone, the spy I had installed. I quickly called her again with the hashtag and activation code added. At first, only beeps and clicks were heard, but then Peggy and Kanina's voices came from the speaker. Oh my God. Hannah wasn't exaggerating. You're huge, Randy. And it's all for you, Tiny. I could taste the vomit in my mouth. Sweetie, did he just call my wife a teddy? I chuckled. There's a capital offense going on out there. No, I was not spying on them. I was gathering information. Okay? After a while, Peggy spoke as if she'd changed her mind. I don't think I can do this, she said in a shaky voice. I really don't. My mood lifted a little. Was she regretting her betrayal? It's not too late. Of course, I'll still have to punish Horsey, but maybe I can at least save my marriage. Oh, well. Perhaps her hesitation isn't about marriage or fidelity after all. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Don't worry, Teddy. I promise to be gentle, I heard Horse Dung whisper. Me too, I thought to myself. I'll be slow, subjecting your family-destroying asshole to 1,000 excruciating ninja torture techniques. The next moment, my thoughts jumped off the rails as Peggy screamed so loudly she almost blew up the speaker. That's how my marriage died. Not under the stroke of a judge's gavel, but under a barrage of screaming homages to the almighty Lord and friends. Amen, damn it. Everyone has a breaking point, and I think I've finally reached mine. I've completely lost any semblance of my ninja coolness and pressed the accelerator pedal to the floor. My rental car isn't a very powerful car, so the speed was barely over 10 miles per hour when I rammed into Kanya's car. But judging by the screams, it definitely took the lovers by surprise. As an added bonus, the impact caused their car to roll down the slope until about 100 feet below, they were stopped rather abruptly by a large tree. I disconnected the spy call on Peggy's cell phone and dialed 911 instead. Operator, I want to report an accident. Yes, I hit a parked car and the impact pushed it down the hill. I think there's someone in it. No, I can't. My leg is injured. Please send someone. Yes, you guessed it. There was nothing wrong with my leg. But I didn't go down the hill in the dark. Randy's ass could take a rain check. I leaned back and waited for the medical staff to arrive. A few hours later, I found myself sitting in a small room in the hospital, engaging in a game of peekaboo with a sour-faced cop. I really like your police suit, I said with fake praise. It looks almost like the real thing. Where did you get it? At Walmart? On the job, smartass, he growled. And you should also notice the baton and handcuffs that go with it. Keep acting the same way, and you can try them out. I shut up. Even a deadly and fearless shadow warrior must choose his battles wisely. Really? You actually expect me to believe like you had no idea your wife was making love to her lover in the car the moment you accidentally hit her and pushed her down the hill? I put on my most sincere expression and repeated my statement. As I said, I was on the lookout for my wife, fearing for her safety. I was tracking her cell phone, and I think I got too distracted while driving to look at the map. Didn't see the car until it was too late. It was dark, and there were no lights. And you didn't know anything about the lover? He sighed. Well, of course I knew, I replied with a smile. Peg and I have an open relationship, you know, keeping things fresh after years of marriage. You don't know it unless you do it yourself, as they say. I winked at him conspiratorially. He frowned and closed his notebook. Not the laptop kind of notebook, but a real honest-to-goodness moleskin paper notebook. Okay, Mr. Buford. That'll be all for now. Thank you for your cooperation, and please don't leave town for the next few days. I may have more questions. I left the annoying company of the law and went to the head nurse's office to inquire about the condition of my promiscuous wife and horse breath. She wasn't too friendly at first. I am indeed forbidden to disclose information about patients, Mr. Buford. Ben Buford at your service. I pulled my driver's license out of one of my secret ninja pockets. I was in the same accident as my sister and her boyfriend. Please, I'm very worried, and I need just a little bit of information to reassure my sick mom. We're a close-knit family, you know, and she's terribly upset. Oh, I see. So you are related to Margaret Buford, she said with a smile. Peggy, yes. Blonde, 6'2", dressed like Catwoman. How is she? Can I see her? Of course, Mr. Buford. Fortunately, your sister escaped physical but suffered severe emotional trauma, forcing us to treat her. She was splattered with blood from her fiancé, who was injured, and she seems to have a great fear of blood. Right. She's afraid of blood, too, but she's also a vegetarian. The nurse sighed and made an entry in her journal. I'm so glad to hear your sister's okay. What about Kanya? Randolph? The nurse lowered her gaze. Alas, Mr. Muller was not so fortunate. I'm afraid he's lost his manhood. His what? The upper part of his friend. Yes, that seems to be unfortunately the case. We believe your sister was doing him good when your car crashed into them, causing him to be badly injured. The ambulance staff was unfortunately unable to find the missing tissue. She literally chewed the dude out? Basically, yes. I guess you could say that. I was trying very hard not to laugh, and the nurse misinterpreted my grimace as grief. Oh, don't despair, Mr. Buford. Your friend may no longer be able to procreate in the usual way, but that doesn't mean he can't become a father. Oh, God, that was too much. If I don't laugh soon, I'm going to have a brain hemorrhage. I did my best to apologize. Pete, sorry, sister. Too much. I need some fresh air. Please forgive me. Me. I stumbled and ran for the door. No problem, Mr. Buford. I'm sorry for the bad news. I heard her comforting words as I rushed through the lobby. I barely made it outside and rounded the corner of the building before bursting into a fit of laughter. This was too good. All for a $400 deductible for the dents in the front on my rental car. 5 minutes later, I was back at the hospital and headed for Peggy's room with my eyes still swollen with laughter. She seemed to be asleep, but when I touched her arm, she immediately opened her eyes. Oh, Ben, she cried out and hugged me tightly. I'm so sorry, my love. I held her tightly against me for a while, stroking her hair. It's okay, I said quietly. But what happened? I thought you were at the Halloween party tonight. I was, but I felt sick and wanted to go home, so Randy offered me a ride. On the way, we got into a car accident. At the lover's place? Yeah. Randy had some business on the way, so we had to stop. I couldn't believe she was still lying. How stupid does she think I am? We're married, for crying out loud. She should know better than me. I decided to play along a little. Never mind, Peg. The only thing that matters is that you're all right. I should go and thank Randy for keeping you safe. He's being treated in the West Wing. He's a lot worse off than you are. Peggy looked concerned and seemed actually concerned for the welfare of horse manure. Yes, the marriage is definitely over. What about him? She asked. Apparently he's a head shorter now, I giggled. Peggy stared at me in horror. Don't be silly, not on that head. The other one. She clutched her hands over her mouth and I continued. But I'm sure she'll be out somewhere within the next 24 hours. Isn't that right, Plucky? I left Peggy in a state alternating between hysterical crying and fountaining vomit. I was disappointed in her. After all, I really thought she was a devout vegetarian. On my way out, I stopped at Randy's room. He didn't look very well, which lifted my spirits even more. The entire lower half of his body was bandaged up and he was hooked up to several IVs and other scary hospital shit. Hey, Randy, how's the head? Mr. Buford, he said with a slight smirk. What can I do for you? Look, let's not beat around the bush, okay? The fact is, earlier this evening you made love to my wife. A gentleman would never admit to that, he said with a grin that would normally have pissed me off. Look, Randy, I get it. You were too full of hormones and you lost your head. It could have happened to anybody. I'm glad you understand, Mr. Buford, he said, somewhat puzzled. Of course I understand, Randy. And I don't see why this minor incident should bump our heads together. I couldn't agree more, Mr. Buford. Life's too short to keep bumping heads over little things. I understand, but why do you keep mentioning the head? Oh shit, Freudian slip. Didn't they tell you? Told me what? You lost something very expensive. You're kidding, man? Tell me you're kidding. It's not funny, really? I'm sorry, Randy. You seem to have lost your head, but I hear you still have a lot of extra centimeters. No! 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 This can't be happening! He exclaimed, and like a madman, he started grabbing at the bandages. Since Randy seemed to be busy now, I decided to leave. I'm going home, Randy. Happy Halloween. On my way out, I ran into the head nurse looking at me intently. I must ask you to refrain from seeing other patients, Mr. Bilford. You seem to be a bad influence on them. Wouldn't it be better if you left the building immediately? In order to calm your sister, we had to chain her to the bed. On impulse, I grabbed her head and pulled her to me. I love hot chicks in uniform, I said, kissing her hard and passionately. Then she was left standing there with a flushed face and looking at me with dazed eyes. She looked like she was going to either say something or slap me, but at that moment, Randy started screaming at the top of his lungs. I guess he finally got those bandages off. As the nurses rushed into Randy's room with a set of syringes, I quietly walked out the front door into the cold October night. By now, I had witnessed the destruction of my marriage, avenged my wounded pride, and humiliated the bad horse. Not so little for a few hours of work, but the night is still in full swing. I'm still dressed in my cold ninja costume, and I still have an unpaid bill to Hannah for enabling my wife. Oh yeah, and Halloween isn't over yet, is it? The end.